There was a band playing in my head, and I felt like getting high. I was thinking about what a friend had said. I was hoping it was a lie.
Hey, it's Nate with another piano tutorial. Today I'm doing After the Gold Rush by Neil Young. I've gotten a lot of requests for it and I put it off for a long time despite it being one of my favorite songs of all time. Or maybe because it is. I wanted to do it justice and it's a little tricky to figure out how to arrange and teach it. On one hand, it's a very simple song. There are only 5 chords in it. On the other hand, the exact piano part as played on the recording is really quirky and fairly complicated. I'm going to show you a very easy way to get started playing and singing this song, and then I'll go into some of the rhythms and arpeggios that Neil plays. But it's not going to be a note-by-note transcription of the performance that ended up on the record. That would take a really long time. Hopefully, I'll give you some tools to find spontaneity in your own playing, just like Neil Young did. Let's jump in. All right, so first off, I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. There's a link down in the description that'll help you follow along and see where the chords and the lyrics line up with each other. We'll start out with the intro. Here's the chords for that. Start with a D major chord. I'm gonna voice it like this. Right hand D, F sharp, and A. And then an octave lower in the left hand, I'm just gonna play fifths, the outside notes of the chord. So D and A. And this is middle C here, by the way. So you get the octave. So we're kind of in the center of the piano. And then we've also got a G. For the G chord, it's gonna look like that. So I hopped my left hand all the way down to do fifths on G and D, but the right hand is playing an inversion on that G major chord. We got a B, a D with the second finger, and then a G with the fifth finger. And we're in 4/4 time, so each of these measures gets 4 counts. It's a bit slow, thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then the verse would start. Well, I dreamed I saw the nights. I'm going to be singing an octave lower, by the way, but this is the original key. I'm going to build on the core chords until it sounds just like what Neil plays, but we can take a few steps to get there. The easiest way to add a little bit more energy into the chords in the song would be to just play quarter notes in the right hand. Just playing on every count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So you could do that for the verses when we get into the full chord progression for that. But I'm going to do another rhythm here that's a little bit more involved. We need to think in eighth notes. So instead of just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to divide that beat in half. Think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And in the right hand, I'm going to hit beats 1 and then the and after 2 and then 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. We can just loop that on a D. 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. So that's the main feel I'm going to be using for the easy version of this song. Well, I dreamed I saw the knights in armor. So one other thing I will say about the intro is just for those D chords, you can add a D sus2 to the first count, second finger on the E there, 1 and. So we are doing an extra hit on the and after 1 to do the regular D major. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4. Cool. At the end, I'm going to show you note for note how to play the more complicated piano part Neil plays in the intro, but for now, let's just get into the verses and learn the chord progression with the simple rhythm. So here's the chord progression for the verses. It's actually the only chord progression in the song. The song is just made up of verses, and the first line looks just like the intro did. The only difference is just for this first line, for the G's in this line, we're going to do a higher inversion on the right hand. So instead of coming down here, we're going to do D, G, and B like that. It's a little brighter sounding. And I'm going to be playing that rhythm we talked about but you can totally just stick with the quarter note rhythm if that's easier for you. Well, I dreamed I saw the knights in armor coming, saying something about a queen. There were peasants singing and drummers. So on drummers, we need this A major chord. Got A fifths down here, A and E. Once again, an inversion in the right hand with C sharp, second finger on E, and then fifth finger on A. Drummers drumming and the archer. So on archer, and for the G's in the rest of the verse, we're going to do the lower inversion. So from that A, we just step down to the G we did in the intro. Archer split the tree. There was a fanfare. Okay, so this B minor here. B and F sharp for the left hand fifths, and then B, D, and F sharp in the right hand. Fanfare blowing to the sun. Love that chord change. That's just a regular old C major chord. C, E, G with C and G in the left hand. To the sun that was floating on the breeze. At this point, I want to just give you a couple little details here that you can add even with this easy version. On to the sun, you can just do a little to the with the sus2 here, using the second finger on D, and then back to the major chord on sun. There was a fanfare blowing to the sun, and you can just do it on the rhythm of the vocals. 1 and 2 and 3 that was floating on the breeze. 2 and 3 4 1 2 and 3 4. So on beat 4 of this is the only place in the progression where the chord lasts more than one measure. Everything else is just measure of chord change. But we have 2 measures of C here. To fill this space in here, you can hit this low G on beat 4. 1 2 and 3 4 1 2 and 3 4. Okay. Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s. So all chords that we've already done. No new chords happening, but on the 70s. So this line and the next one are the same thing here, where you get to the G and just do 1 2 3 4. So holding for the second half of the measure. And for the last line, same thing. Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s. Cool. You could also on the look at Mother, just do that little sus2 thing there. Look at Mother Nature on the run. All right, cool. So given that, you could play the whole song, just follow the chords and lyrics chart. Different verses have different lyrics, and then there's the instrumental section. You could play it just like that. So now I'm going to start building on it and give you some of the more advanced details in the way that Neil Young plays it. So for the first couple lines, the left-hand fifths are going to pulse on quarter notes. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and the right hand is going to be a little bit more active than what we're doing. It's going to be so we're going to do a lot of eighth notes in the right hand. 1 and 2, and you should just actually get a feel for going back and forth. He doesn't play the same rhythm on every chord, but the general gist is that the right hand is kind of filling in rhythms between. So you can be loose with it, and when I do my playthrough, I'm sure I will be kind of varying it a bit. You don't have to copy exactly what I do. But one rhythm that I think it would be most useful to get in your muscle memory would be to be playing on 1 and 2 and 3 4 and on the and after 4, just play the bottom note with your thumb. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you could try that with the switch to the G. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and throw in that. I'm definitely going to be throwing in that sus2 there. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So, well, I dreamed I saw the knights in armor coming, saying something about a queen. So I did a little extra eighth notes there. You can kind of go back and forth more if you like. There were peasants singing and drummers drumming, and that time I kept it a little more simple. You could just do the 1, 2, and 3, and the archer split the tree. There was a fanfare blowing. Okay. So sometimes you can do some extra hits if it mimics the vocals, like fanfare, blowin', just kind of hit it on blowin'. Okay. When we get to the C, here's where it gets really interesting. I didn't realize this about the piano part until I learned it to teach it, but he stops pulsing on the fifths and starts doing an arpeggio. Now, I'll show you the arpeggio. If you can do the fifth pulsing, but not the arpeggio, that's cool. You can just keep doing the fifths. But once we get to that C, I'm going to start playing on every eighth note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm just going bottom note of the chord, top note of the chord, middle, top. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we can do the to the sun, just like we did in the simple version. To the sun. To the sun that was floating on. So for the G chords, rather than coming down here and doing, it's going to be root, fifth, and octave. Still the same pattern of bottom, top, middle, top. To the sun that was floating on the breeze. And then, just like I mentioned before with the going down to the G, I lifted that for the easy version from this arpeggio where 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? Look at Mother Nature. So now we're up to this D. We're going to do that arpeggio like we did the C arpeggio. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with that F sharp in the middle. Look at Mother Nature on the... And the A arpeggio is like the G one where you do root, octave, fifth, octave, on the run in the 1970s. You could still just do the 1, 2 there, then look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s. Cool. So then we are on the next verse, and you can play the next verse just like that one, but little embellishment on the G chords in the first line. And also easy to forget, but when you go back to the beginning of the chord progression, it goes back to just pulsing the fifths. The arpeggios are only in the second half. So, I was lying in a burned out basement. So it's the same rhythm as I said before. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, but for the every hit except for the first one, you're gonna take that B down to an A. So it's a G sus2 chord. Lying in a burned out basement with a full moon in my eye. I was hoping for, and then for the rest of that verse, I'm just gonna play it like I showed you with the other verse. And then we get to the horn solo, which is just another verse, but a flugelhorn comes in and plays the melody. So it's the same chord progression, and you can totally just play it the way that you're playing the verses without singing. But I will show you how to play the right hand melody. So we'll go through doing that, and I'll give you a couple different options depending on how complicated you want to make it. So here's the notes for the first 2 lines of this. I just have the right hand single melody notes, and then below that is the chord that the left hand plays. And for now, I'll just hold the fifths like we've been doing them, but we can totally pulse the fifths or even do the arpeggio. So we start with D, E as pickup notes, and then the D hits on the second E. D, E, E, F sharp, E, E, and the G chord here hits like right after you hit the E there. E, D, D. One more time. D, E, E, F sharp, E, E, D, D. Now, really similar. D, E, F sharp, E, D, D. And again, right after the D, you switch to the G. Okay, next line. D, E, F sharp, G, F sharp, E, E. So going to the A fifth there. E, F sharp, D, D, F sharp, E. Back to the A. Now I'm going to move the right hand up a little bit and do A, B, A, F sharp, all in a dream. So you can just kind of hear the singing in your head and play to that. Okay, so on the next line, we've got the F sharp is still held out, and we go to the B minor. Of course, just doing the B fifths. So F sharp, 1, 2, F sharp, then on the C, E, D, E, and it holds that E for a second, and then we have D, F sharp, D, D, E. If you want to add a little bit extra rhythm there when we're just hanging out on the C's, then back to the D chord. E, F sharp, G, F sharp, go to the A chord, E, 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 F sharp, E, D, B, D. Still gonna do that 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just that line repeats again. E, F sharp, G, F sharp, E, 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 F sharp, E, D, B, D. Kind of keep getting caught with my fingers. You could cross over there, or you could use different fingers so you don't run out of fingers to get down to that B. I'm going to play through that whole thing one more time. This time I'm going to just pulse on the fifths. Cool. So you could leave it there, or the next step would be, he actually does do that left hand arpeggio through the whole instrumental section. So that would sound like this. So you can do that if you can get the rhythmic feel for it. And then finally, this is so optional, but on the recording, you have Neil's left and right hand doing the chords and the arpeggio, and then the flugelhorn is on top of that. There is a way to capture the melody of the flugelhorn and the chords by harmonizing with some of those notes. So I'm going to just touch on this briefly. I don't want to get bogged down in it because it is pretty advanced, but it's going to sound like this. So most of the first part of the melody can kind of be played from this D position, and in addition to the melody notes happening, we can harmonize with the upper and lower notes of that chord. And then for the G chord, we can just do, so the melody note was the D, but we can harmonize with the lowest note of that chord. So the melody as I taught you was, right? We're on the D chord again, so I'm harmonizing with those outside notes. So that's the melody note. But I'm harmonizing with the outside notes of that A chord, so my thumb went to the C sharp. So I'm doing, for this part, the da 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 da. We're on the G chord. I'm gonna just harmonize with the lower notes from that G chord, the B and the D. Again, we have that E as the melody note, just adding in some harmony from the notes in that A chord. So just gonna kind of keep that simple. But for that extra F sharp, I'll add in the D from that B minor chord. So but just adding the low note from that C chord. You could add the G as well. Might distract from the melody note a little bit, but feel it out. Okay, back to this G chord where the F sharp minor is on the top. So just let go of that F sharp minor and let that D be the melody note, because what we had written before was da 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 da. Maybe just adding some extra rhythm there. Or you could do some of those just as single melody notes. Really cool sounding there. So I'm just gonna do the ba da 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 da, but I am gonna harmonize it with that low C from the C chord. Not gonna harmonize the B. Maybe not the D either. So same thing again. You could add the high octave in there. Cool. Hopefully that wasn't too overwhelming. Then we are in the final verse. Well, I dreamed I saw the silver. So just remembering to go back to pulsing the fifths until we get to the middle of the verse. I'm going to play that verse just like I did the second verse, and it ends just the second time around that last line. Flying Mother Nature's silver seed to a new home. I'll probably do the high octave there. 1, 2, a new home, and then it just holds, and then the song is over. But we did skip over the full piano part on the intro, and now that we have used the tools to create this piano part, let's just do it. The intro is going to sound like this, kind of note for note what he plays. So, D, E, F sharp, just stepping up, harmonizing with the top. I'm not going to add the harmony to the notes until the left hand comes in. So just 2 hits on that D chord. 1 and 2 and and then 3 and 4 and. On the and 4 and, you do right hand D and then step down A, G. And then when you get to this, you do that arpeggio. So we were pulsing the fifths, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. And the right hand only plays the B and the D and only on the first two, 1 and then it just holds. Now as a pickup note, the D, we're going to go back to just pulsing quarter notes in the left hand. And he does more hits that time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we kind of anticipate going to that G chord in the right hand early. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so that is how I am going to play the intro for my run through. Okay, thank you for watching. I am now going to do a full playthrough of the song so you can see how all these parts we've talked about fit together. Now I am going to do the advanced intro, but then I'm going to do the easy version just for the first verse so you can see that, and then I'm going to do the more complicated versions for everything else. But of course you can play the whole song as simply as you need, just tracing out the chord changes and singing along. Also just wanted to clarify one more time that this is the original key, but I am singing an octave lower than Neil Young. You can sing in whichever register works best for your voice. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and click the bell so you know when I put out more videos like this one. All right, here is my version of After the Gold Rush.
Well, I dreamed I saw the knights in armor coming, saying something about a queen. There were peasants singing and drummers drumming, and the archers split the tree. There was a fanfare blowing to the sun that was floating on the breeze. Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s. Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s. I was lying in a burned out basement with the full moon in my eye. I was hoping for replacement when the sun burst through the sky. There was a band playing in my head, and I felt like getting high. I was thinking about what a friend had said. I was hoping it was a lie. Thinking about what a friend had said. I was hoping it was a lie. sun.